While Diddy sits behind bars, dozens of his employees haven't received a single paycheck in months. And what they're saying about their former boss will shock you. Stay until the end, because this gets even crazier. What's up, everyone? Welcome back to the channel. If you're new here, hit that subscribe button, because we cover the biggest celebrity controversies as they unfold. Today we're diving into a story that's making waves across social media. Sean Diddy Combs, the hip-hop mogul worth hundreds of millions, is now facing accusations from his own staff. While he fights serious federal charges from behind bars, the people who worked for him claim they've been left high and dry with unpaid wages stacking up and no answers in sight. But here's where it gets interesting. This isn't just about a few missed paychecks. We're talking about dozens of employees, from personal assistants to household staff, all saying the same thing. And the amount of money we're talking about? You won't believe it. But before we get into the numbers, you need to understand how Diddy's empire actually worked. Because without this context, nothing else makes sense. Sean Combs built an empire over 3 decades. We're talking Bad Boy Records, Sean John Clothing, Ciroc Vodka partnerships, and multiple business ventures that made him one of the wealthiest figures in hip-hop. His estimated net worth? Over $800 million at its peak. To maintain this lifestyle, Diddy employed a massive team. Personal chefs, security details, housekeepers, drivers, personal assistants, nannies, and executive staff. Some sources estimate he had over 50 people on his personal payroll alone, not counting his business employees. These weren't minimum wage positions either. Many of these staff members were highly paid professionals who had worked for Diddy for years, some for over a decade. They were loyal, discreet, and essential to keeping his multiple households and businesses running smoothly. Then came September 2024. Federal agents arrested Diddy on charges including racketeering conspiracy and sex trafficking. He was denied bail and has been in custody ever since. And that's when everything changed for his employees. According to recent reports from TMZ and multiple sources, dozens of Diddy's employees claim they haven't been paid since his arrest. We're talking about months of unpaid wages. Some employees are reportedly owed tens of thousands of dollars. Others claim they're owed even more. But here's what makes this situation even more complicated. Many of these employees lived on Diddy's properties, had company cars, and their entire lives were built around their employment with him. When the paychecks stopped, they didn't just lose income. Some lost their housing, their transportation, and their stability overnight. Several former employees have spoken anonymously to media outlets, describing a chaotic situation. After Diddy's arrest, there was allegedly no clear communication about who was in charge, whether the businesses would continue operating, or when they'd receive their final paychecks. One former personal assistant told reporters they were essentially ghosted. No return calls, no emails, nothing. Just silence while their bills piled up and their savings dwindled. Now, you might be thinking, can't they just sue? Well, that's where this story takes another twist. Because the legal situation here is more complicated than you'd think. Here's the thing about unpaid wages. Normally, it's pretty straightforward. You work, you get paid, and if you don't, you can file a wage claim or lawsuit. But when your employer is facing federal criminal charges, and their assets might be frozen or seized, things get messy fast. Some legal experts suggest that Diddy's assets could be tied up in the federal case, making it difficult for employees to access funds, even if they successfully file claims. There's also the question of which entity actually employed them. Was it a personal LLC? One of his corporations? This matters for legal purposes. Additionally, many of these employees likely signed non-disclosure agreements and employment contracts that might complicate their ability to speak publicly about their situations or pursue certain legal remedies. Some employees have reportedly already filed complaints with state labor boards, while others are consulting employment attorneys about potential class action lawsuits. But the reality is, Even if they win judgments, collecting that money could take years. This situation raises bigger questions about celebrity employment practices. How many other high-profile figures operate with similar employment structures? What protections do household staff and personal employees have when their wealthy employers face legal troubles? It's also a reminder that behind every celebrity empire, there are real people whose livelihoods depend on that stability. When the empire crumbles, they're often the ones who suffer the most immediate consequences. The irony isn't lost on anyone. Diddy, who built his brand on success, luxury, and taking care of his team, now has dozens of former employees struggling to make ends meet while he sits in a federal detention center. And here's the thing. This story is still developing. New information is coming out almost daily, and what happens next could set precedents for how similar situations are handled in the future. So what do you think? Should these employees be at the front of the line to get paid from Diddy's assets? Or do the federal charges complicate things too much? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. And listen, if you found this breakdown valuable, do me a favor. Hit that like button. It really helps the channel grow. More importantly, subscribe and turn on notifications because this Diddy situation is far from over. We'll be covering every major development as it happens. We're building a community here of people who want the real story behind the headlines, not just the surface-level gossip. And I want you to be part of that. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.